Hey guys, here I am with the 19th part, Black Squad Criminal Organization. I have to think for a moment which series that is. Yeah, Ninja Gang, so to speak. Checked off the ones after the emergency meeting. The trial took a while. Opunk stayed in custody. The other two basically got off with a slap on the wrist. I mean, one got probation and the other one, I think, only got a fine. Those are the kinds of things where people ask themselves, okay, why are these sentences so light? Also, those are things we also asked ourselves, especially when you're involved in organized crime, how careless the justice system often was with us. I think that's also the frustration that a lot of people in the police force have. When you say, okay, we have these random funds that they're out there at night breaking in, trying to get weapons and so on, and then it turns out that one person gets 6 months or, I don't know, 2 years probation, and another gets a 1,200 or €200 fine. Of course, that's how it was. They couldn't prove the other burglaries against them, so only the one burglary with the weapons could be proven. But still, those are things that most likely lead to frustration for the police. Also, because these cases weren't tried 6 months later, but 2 years later, you notice that there's hardly any consequence from that. And that was always a message to us that we said, yeah, okay, then we'll just get away with things. Still, within our club, it led to a kind of change in thinking, and we tried to influence the members to say, my goodness, yeah. I mean, how stupid can you be? That was also a topic that probably many people later held against me. But we'll gladly get to that at the very end of this series. Is it really such a topic? Yes, that I was a bit like a know-it-all. And I can even understand that accusation, but it was always with the intention of saying, okay, I looked at it from the outside and thought, hey, this is going to go wrong today, or something like that. The way you're planning this coup, it could go wrong, so maybe you should call it off. Is that really the right job for you to be professional burglars, so to speak? Well, and then some people apparently took it that way, like I wanted to patronize them, talk down to them, and so on. Human sensitivities are involved. So I always watch for that. Yeah, things are going well for you. You make your money with the tattoo shop, you're involved in the red light scene, and you also have your legal income, which we'll get to here today as well. Yeah, but we also kept having dealings with the motorcycle scene. Many people assume it's just about the motorcycle thing. Sure, you walk around in a vest and sweaters, and everything somehow revolves around the motorcycle club, but it actually has very little to do with motorcycles. A lot of people think it's about always planning a ride. On the weekend, we ride over there and to that place, and then we were there, party. Of course, it was always about partying, but most of the time we actually drove there in cars and then partied there. It's just a party where everyone wears a vest with 7 or 8 motorcycles parked in front of a clubhouse. That was about it, except for the summer parties everyone drove to. But we rarely did that. Since then, no one could drink or party, so did we still go anyway? But it was also the case that we had a relatively difficult start in Mecklenburg, Western Pomerania, because young former neo-Nazis, or maybe people who still think that way, would get together and now act like bikers. Many of the older ones just couldn't accept that. Well, we actually had a pretty good standing. And also the first light friendships. Then also again towards the Hells Angels, with whom we got along well. Because there were also some people there I really connected with. But with the old timers, it was already like they, kind of dissed us, and they didn't really want us around. But even among the old established clubs, some of which have been around since the 90s, there were always a few people who said, okay, let's give the guys a chance. We didn't really care. Well, I mean, it was pretty much all the same to us. We wanted to be accepted somehow as a hardcore, tough 1%er motorcycle club, and it was really important to us that we had to be respected. We accomplished all that through fear and intimidation. Yeah, nobody was allowed to say that to our faces, otherwise we would have freaked out right away. But somehow we still kind of hoped that we would be accepted into the community, be invited to the regular parties and so on. And there were always a few individuals, even in the clubs, that we got along well with. Also among the older ones who came to us, for example, there was someone from the Stormbringers Motorcycle Club. Some would approach us and say, yeah, yeah, no, like that. Young people who get together, ride motorcycles, and try to bring together those fragile bonds. Also, with the Warriors, someone came to us. We met up privately. You could talk with them. You could have a beer or coffee together and exchange ideas. Yeah, we need to celebrate together and keep this area clean so the bandidos stay out. Always this bogeyman. Bandidos, yeah, they had the eastern side of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, and the Helsingis basically had the western side under their control. So in between there was also Grimium, and now there was supposed to be new trouble about that too. That specter was always there. We have to stick together. That was also the whole roundtable topic. It was also like there was a person we got along with pretty well from the club next door, from the Warriors. I don't remember, and I'm sorry that I've forgotten. I don't remember if his name was Mario or Marco. I don't remember anymore. Who then surprisingly passed away, with whom we got along very well. That was one of the club guys who always danced at weddings. That was more like the Warriors Motorcycle Club was more like very, very rural. Yeah, it was definitely a community, and riding motorcycles was important to them too. And hanging out together, and they also rode around the region, but they didn't really network much with others and so on. And the person who did network there has also passed away. And when you talk about death now, a little funny fun fact, it's hard to say then, but Mario was then together with the woman who had the child of the one who had killed our comrade. Did I tell that correctly now? So in the New Year's Eve murder, someone died. Frankenstein, he died, and he had a wife and child. And this wife and child then got together with one of the warriors, and he also passed away. So this woman and this child, they've really been through a lot. They've truly suffered. And she lost her husbands twice. That was always a topic. Every time we visited them, we were always asked, so who? Who exactly was that again, and where can we find them? So this motorcycle club wanted to set things straight, so to speak, and take revenge, basically take justice into their own hands against those who were from the Brotherhood. We were always asked if anyone else was involved, etc. They wouldn't have attacked us. I'll just say that. I don't think that would have been possible, but they always wanted to set things straight too. He passed away. He was basically the main networker. They also arranged a biker club style funeral for them. I already mentioned this, even when we first got into the biker scene, when we were at the Red Devil's funeral. Now, in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, we as Schwarze Schar were invited to our first biker funeral. I liked him personally, I got along well with him as a person, and well, that's that. He was then considered part of good manners, that you make your way there to this funeral. We also rode our motorcycles to this funeral. That's kind of like a final gesture of respect that you go there. And there were, I think I would say about 200, maybe 250 people there. And that was basically our first appearance where we went somewhere with the motorcycles. It wasn't a huge number of motorcycles because many of our members and prospects had a big problem getting these motorcycles and being able to afford them. And yeah, it was already something. When you meet everyone there, you notice many courtesy visits. It's not like tears are flowing in great rivers, yeah, but it's just one of those things. Okay, as a club, you're ordered to go there, you have to go. But that was basically our first appearance where we actually showed up with the motorcycles and were there. Everyone is happy about it, but of course, at this funeral, the mood is somber. It's a funeral. What can you say about that? What can you say? Yes, then the motorcycle clubs also make wreaths, yes, with something like In Mourning and then Schwarze Schar Motorcycle Club. and so on. And the Hells Angels were there too. I don't even know if the Stormwinger were there. But then I don't even remember what all the clubs are called. I think the Mute were there too, from Blau am See and Born to be Wild, since he was often at events like Gremium. That's where everyone meets, even those who dislike each other. That's the problem. Even if it's a somewhat smaller regional club, but one that has been involved in a lot of things. Sometimes they're with Gremium, sometimes somewhere else, and then they meet there. But that's something like neutral territory, yeah, like at a funeral, if you start fighting there. I think if a member loses it or something, it can happen really quickly that you get kicked out of the club. So everyone really pulls themselves together there. But that was, so to speak, the first real appearance, just by the way. In any case, I also had to go back a bit in the direction of earning money. That was also very important for me. Yes, I had to finance my entire life and felt the pressure. Some of you can relate. Hashtag, I understand feeling responsible for others at the club and wanting to bring your brothers and comrades with you. And everyone should be doing very well, because you know that when there's financial pressure, people just don't function. And we knew, okay, we have to do something. And I had, our problem was that after this series of break-ins, for example, Hans Wurst had hardly any income. He was also at the shipyard. Then then our sergeant was out at the shipyard, and then we had someone else with us, Christoph, also a prospect. He wanted to get away from he was a drywall builder, also wanted to leave. And of course, you can't get by with those 1,200, 1,300 euros net or whatever, and then live this biker life, always partying and doing all sorts of things. That's how the four of us found each other. My old partner Mike from Multi-Criminality, with whom I still had the red light partners and so on. So, but the relationship kind of faded because I focused a lot on the club. It didn't fade in a bad way at that time, but I just had to take care of a lot of things. And then he focused on, also dealing marijuana. And that's when we realized, okay, there's real money in this, but how do we do it? Yeah, it was up for discussion then. To somehow buy the drug and then sell it. You buy it for around 3,800 or 4,000, then sell it for 5,000 or 5,500. But that's not the main issue. Right? With four people, you ask how much you can move and what the risks are. And it's clear, okay, now we somehow have to start producing ourselves. We saw that it kind of started with Mike, and then I'll be honest, that's when the jealousy kicks in. Yeah, that's how it is. Today in my new life, I'm really not jealous anymore. I think if you say you live completely without jealousy, that's not possible. Back then, you also wanted to make big money with the big names and top potters and the four of them. And then the four of us sat together and said, yeah, screw it. No, we don't have to buy it wholesale or anything. We have to grow it ourselves. Yeah, but now I could pause the video here and write in the comments, yeah, how do you organize something like that from scratch if you don't have anyone who's done it before? If you don't know how the plant is handled, where do you get the blanks or the location? Who harvests, dries, and packages it? So you're faced with multiple problems, how to approach that. I know there are many ideas and it all sounds easy. I can already see the comments below. But if you haven't dealt with it before, you're still faced with a huge task at first. And we didn't know how or where we would do it either. During our first brainstorming session, we sat together and thought, okay, where are we going to find the right place so that we could basically set up our own marijuana plantations. So that was clear to us. The four of us want to build marijuana plantations, preferably spread out across the city. And then we just focus on that, and the four of us do it together. I have to say, at that time, someone from the city approached me who a big property management company has or had, and he approached me and he was dissatisfied with his janitorial service. If you'd like to support us, my book, Hate Breeds Violence, a bestseller in games, is out now. The brand behind the product, King Among the Kongs, check it out. Many links below the video show how to support our de-radicalization and anti-violence work online and in schools. There are many ways. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It all helps. Thanks and ahoy. The video goes on. I used to hang out with him because I rented my tattoo shop from him and visited his shop occasionally. And he was also 20 years older than me, so more like a fatherly friend. We became friends because I often visited his shop, had espresso, and chatted with him. And we really got along well as people, we did. But still, looking back, I think it was always a bit condescending. He always flattered me, but regarding that rocker stuff, I think he was a bit condescending. Because I've noticed that whenever I meet people, they always share old stories. I was once important and tough, involved in crime and similar things. Then those stories always get a bit exaggerated and so on. That always annoyed me because whenever I met someone, I didn't need them to prove to me that they used to be tough guys too. And like, oh, I'm so tough and all that. I actually didn't feel like that at all. I didn't want that, but that's what was said. And he was also a bit hot-tempered by nature. It was already difficult to work for him, to work with him. And he had a janitorial service because he was managing around 600 or 700 apartments, about 40 or 50 old townhouses with all the apartments, gardens, and everything that comes with them. And then he said, yes, I'm really dissatisfied with my janitorial service. He can't get it together, but that's a great job. It's nearly 5 figures a month for just a bit of work, like cleaning hallways, and special tasks are also paid. I sat with him having an espresso and said, if you're so unhappy with him, why not fire him? Then I added, I'll do the crap. Yeah, I didn't really think much about it. Then I thought, yeah, okay, if you're really that unhappy with it, then I'll take care of it. So what's the effort involved there? And you say, yeah, these and those houses, and then you have to do the hallways, then you have to get yourself a van or a little caddy or something. And then the gardening tools, mops, vacuum cleaners, washcloths. Yeah, well, washcloths. Did I say I have enough at the club? Oh, funny, right? I said, let's start this. I told him to quit his job, and he replied he had about a month's notice period. I told him, do you really want to do this, Philip? I agreed since I could afford it, and then calculated what you see. I'll buy myself a van. At first, I wanted to buy a used van. I need to put a candy in my mouth, sorry. And I'll buy myself a used van for... I bought myself a caddy for 7,000 with 5,000, and I set up mobile vacuum cleaners and everything from scratch. Then I also went to the club, and then I also asked Ditche, and I said, like, Ditche, I said he used to work as a painter. Then I asked Ditche, wouldn't you rather be here? Be the manager for me? I just didn't see myself cleaning hallways or working in the garden. I mostly saw myself writing invoices and admit I underestimated the background organization. I told Ditche, listen, I'll hire you to do your painting here and finish it, and then we'll take care of it, and then we'll start this janitor service here. And he was immediately fired up because he was always on the road with his painting company, always sleeping away from home. And so now there was the opportunity for him to work for me. Okay, then we kept looking. Then I also had someone from my circle, also from the camaraderie. Werewolf, I had him. So from my circle, I had someone who was a mason, who could do something on the house or houses if needed. Ditche was a painter. And then I had 2 or 3 helpers from the club. One of them was a drywall builder. Christoph, I always have to look over there because of the names. I always want to say the right names. So I already saw that. Okay, I can handle all of that and we can get it all done. And then I very quickly set up the janitorial service, the Seastetter, from the ground up. I never really put much effort into the names. You guys know that. Kameradschaft, Werewolf, then Werewolf Records. Now we had the Schwarze Schar, and as side rockers on the side, we had that then. It said Seestadt, which was Wismar's name. I think during National Socialism, everything was stupid simple, and I named the company Seastetter Halt because I wanted it to be nearby, which was silly. But my logo was like a trash can, a mop bucket with a mop, and the bucket had eyes on it. It was a really funny logo with the Wismar flag. So yeah, well, and then I just built it up from scratch. The Ditcher came into play, and a few others could also make money from it. And for now, it was in. Why am I telling you this story? First, it was important for me. Okay, I also set myself up legally again. So I had the tattoo shop, which gave me legal income. Then I handled the red light business. Yeah, partly legally, I'd say. Sometimes the tax office came down on me hard, but we'll get to that too, right? And now this legal business with the janitorial service, I thought, okay, that gives it a nice official facade. You can make money with it, which was the point. That way, you could justify the lifestyle, especially since the police are watching too. How does he afford his lifestyle, always traveling? We suspect, and not just suspect, criminal activity. We know they're there, but at least this way you can spin it to the outside. But the big advantage here with Bayezin is that in a very short time, I've become very, very close with the property manager, with the building management. I've become really tight with them. And then the four of us made a plan together. I realized I couldn't be honest with him since he always talked nonsense. And he wasn't as tough as he pretended to be. And I thought, well, if he's clueless and we get caught, then we'd better just make up a story. And then the four of us sat together and said, okay, why don't we just rent big apartments from him? He always had vacancies from time to time, like back courtyard apartments, houses, and large four-room apartments that were isolated and so on. And we said, hey, don't we want those? Don't we want to rent them from him? We could basically make fake rental contracts. We'd have to come up with a story about how we got these apartments. And we're just totally brazen and just build these plantations right in the middle of the city. Yeah, kind of like the motto, boldness wins. And we got into it, watched YouTube videos about it, checked Google. Okay, what do we need for all this? How does that work in apartments? We watched videos about how people set up their entire apartments with foil and fans and so on. They remodeled everything, so we watched that. When people talk in the videos, others just say, oh yeah, we had a 100 square meter apartment with 2 rooms and a grow room. And we harvest everything, and we harvest every 6 weeks from one of them. After 6 weeks, we harvest from the room, I don't know, 3 kilos from the room. 6 weeks later, another 3 kilos, 6 kilos, and again, oh, 6 times 6. 36,000 divided by 4, awesome, awesome. Each one gets 9,000 almost, right? And awesome. Yeah, okay, after deducting the rent, but if we have 3 apartments and then the rent and then everything works out, we harvest 10 to 20 kilos. You really get into a vibe. It's hard to explain. When I hear myself today, the crap I talk, then I don't even know. Yeah, but you always assume the maximum and you count the money beforehand. You even spend it beforehand. Awesome. In 4 months, I'll get 50,000 euros. I'm already buying something with that. And then comes, well, okay, we'll get to how that went in a moment. How do we rent the apartment? What should we say? I can't just go there and say, look, Mr. Hausverwalter, I need 3 perfectly located apartments, preferably alone in the backyard or on the top floor, and so on. He gradually got to know the guys, and we liked each other. He also supported us from time to time with small donations and contributions for Christmas parties or other things. And he really didn't know anything about it, but we had to build up the story. I don't want to badmouth anyone here who doesn't deserve it, so to speak. And then we said, okay, then I introduced him to 2 guys, and then he liked them. And then they said, yeah, I'm breaking up with my old lady and so on, and I need an apartment as soon as possible. Shit. And then, like, don't you know someone who has apartments or something? He says he rents apartments and runs a property management company. Oh, I see. Yeah. I just need to separate myself from my wife for a bit, physically. Whether we're really separated yet, I don't know, but we want to separate for now. And then, yeah, me too. And then there are these 2 guys sitting there. No, you can't make this up. So we're sitting there at the counter, drinking espresso or smoking a cigarette. And then, yeah, he said, I could get you 2 apartments or something. Yeah, and then he said, then I also said, yeah, I also need an office for the Seastatter, I mean, for my janitorial service. And just like that, we got 3 offers for apartments right in the middle of the city. And then we thought, okay, awesome, let's take those. That would be absolutely amazing if we could get this apartment and then build everything in there. At first, it was quite a financial challenge, because we had to provide a rental deposit for all three apartments. So, what do I see if the base rent for the big apartments is 600, 1,800, 1,500, and 1,400 there? First, the initial 5 grand is gone, then you need to buy equipment. Yeah, I'll put it this way, the investment really hits right away. So you're looking at a solid 5-figure amount. And of course, when I asked around, yeah, who among you still has something to contribute here? And then you go up to the table, and then, well, 3 buttons fly in, 2 Monopoly bills, and an old sandwich with butter, and I added the rest. So I'll put it this way, I financed about 90% of the thing. And then there were always those nice words, yeah, if you finance it, and I usually just wanted to finance it. People told me that if I finance it, I'd get a quarter share, right? You get your money back, and after that, you get a 20% share, and so on. Those are typical when people finance something. It's not that you don't want to do it yourself, but the people who have nothing, otherwise they wouldn't even get started, and then they involve you in the business or something like that. Yeah, okay, apartment ready to go. That was the first step, and then getting the stuff. They were then gotten from, I think, from the internet videos, it was like that. The floor had to be lined with pond liner, then everything was made odor proof. And then we had to think about, okay, where do we get all the gross stuff from? That was the first step we had to take care of. And everything was kept secret. None of the others in the club knew about it. So that was it. That means I was involved. The donkey names himself first, me. Sergeant Hans Wurst and Christoph were involved. Two full members and 2 prospects. And we also said, yes, we'll keep quiet about it for now, and also about who does what with whom here. We also agreed to keep it quiet from Mike because we wanted to do it for ourselves first and see how we could get things going. But okay, where do we get the grow stuff from? I kept asking Mike, who was already in the business, how do you do it? Who organizes it for you? Where do you get it? And he was like, well, my partner always drives to Hamburg to a grow shop. They go there in person, place the order there, then come back with a van and pick up the stuff. Then I asked Jordi, so what do you need for all that, and so on. Then he made me a list, and we watched YouTube videos about what you need for it. From the lamps to the seedling soil, later those snip snap scissors, and the plan was definitely really great, and we can handle all of that. And everything's running smoothly. Then someone drove to Hamburg and picked up the things, and about the apartments, the property manager kept bringing it up to me, like, yeah, okay, the apartment. And I always had to beat around the bush a bit. But then everything was supposed to move quickly so the first apartment could be set up. That's already a financial burden. I mean, it was a 3.5 room apartment on the upper floor that was the first to be prepared and set up. Bought things in Hamburg. We were all fired up. In 3 months, there will be real money coming in, and after that, it'll just keep going and going. Completely different things were supposed to happen in this apartment someday. We were supposed to be facing multiple problems, real trouble, real hassle, and it was all a really close call. And how that worked, how we took our first steps in growing marijuana ourselves, producing it, how we did that. Guys, I'll tell you about that next time. I want to thank the channel members, the sponsors, everyone who supports this channel like this. And as always, I remain with an ahoy from the coast.